Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful episode of FCM Live presents TFCC Profiles. I'm your host, Jerry Caingcoy, TFCC founder. Tonight is another wonderful evening. It's a beautiful Friday evening in this beautiful city of Calgary, province of Alberta. It's actually very cold tonight, but it's still a beautiful Friday evening. What makes this evening very beautiful and inspiring is that I have one inspiring guest who will join me in this conversation tonight to share some of his insights as a professional engineer. He's also a blogger and an author. Without further ado, help me welcome my guest for tonight, Mr. June Antonio Echeverria. Good evening, June.
Good evening, Jerry.
Thanks for joining us tonight in our conversation. And for the benefit of everyone watching us tonight, the Filipino Champions of Canada has been serving the Philcon community since 2015. Our vision is to connect, share, and inspire one Filipino at a time. And over the course of time, we have also reached out to the non-Filipino community, just being part of this great Canadian society. So tonight, June, as we start with this interview, with our discussion, can you first introduce yourself, your background, and your work?
Okay. My name is June Echeverria. I work as a professional engineer. Back in Manila, I taught at the University of the Philippines at the College of Engineering for about 11 years. I also had several senior roles in several organizations, including the Social Security system. I migrated with my family in 2011. I was 51 years old at the time, and I was told I was too old to migrate at 51. But things turned out okay.
You seem to have a really great career back in the Philippines as an engineer, as a professor in one of the big universities in the Philippines, and you've done also some business there. And at the age of 51, migrating to Canada is not really the usual, kind of age that people would consider migrating.
Yep.
So my question for you, what was the main goal or desire for you to move to Canada?
Okay. Actually, I had an uncle who actually told me that I was too old to migrate. But my wife and I found that, realized that we had 4 children, and our 4 children were very good seeds, and that we felt that they could grow much better in a more fertile environment. Some of our friends would ask us the same question, but whenever we give the answer that it's for our children, then they stop asking questions.
That's right.
They understand.
I think that's a very good answer, because there was a year that survey says that in that year the numbers of immigrants in the Philippines has outnumbered the number of temporary foreign workers living and working abroad. And we're just one of those people who decided to come and be a part of this really beautiful country and be an active contributor of this country that we now call as our second home. So as an engineer, was becoming a professional engineer here in Canada was one of your goals?
Actually, no. When my wife and I decided to migrate, we decided to slow down and just find a job that would allow us to live comfortably. But when I found a job, one of the engineers in the company found out about my background and invited me to join their group, with the promise that they would help me get my PhD if I was interested. So I went after my PhD.
Well, to a lot of foreign trained professionals, the engineers, the nurses, we all know that there is a bit of a challenge or a process that you have to go through for you to be recognized as a professional engineer or nurse here in this country. And for you as a professional engineer in the Philippines coming to Canada, can you share to us your challenges, the challenges that you went through before you successfully achieved the designation of being a professional engineer here in Canada?
Okay. Many of the Filipino engineers who go for their PhD are usually faced with 2 challenges. One is the credentials and education credentials, and the second is trying to get the 1 to 2 years of Canadian work experience that's required. I was lucky in that when I was offered to join the engineering group, I could get that Canadian experience side. However, I did have the same challenges in terms of the educational credentials. When I first applied with the PEGA, I thought it was the credentials for academics would be easy because I graduated from the UP and I had a master's in engineering from UP, so I thought it was good. But when I was first assessed by a PEGA, I was assessed as a 3-year engineering graduate, and I was told to take 9 technical exams.
Okay.
I decided to appeal that decision. I felt strongly that my education in the Philippines, including my master's, should be enough. And while the appeal was ongoing, fortunately, APEGA changed the way they assessed. Instead of doing the assessment internally, they decided to outsource the assessment for education.
Okay.
When it was outsourced, my education credentials were then upgraded to a 4-year degree, which was now equivalent to Canadian experience. So everything fell into place. But initially, for the first 2 years, I was appealing. I was arguing that my education credentials were good, and fortunately, it was good. And I was lucky enough to get my credentials without having to take any exams.
Well, thank you for sharing that experience with us, especially to a lot of foreign trained professionals who may be in the same boat that you were once before. I think this is a really great insights for everybody to take and to know that there is a way, and it just takes a lot of hard work and also paperwork to be able to accomplish what the requirements of being a professional engineer here in Canada. And if there are people, like especially the Filipino engineers who are watching us right now, and those who are in similar situation, what advice would you give them based on your experience?
I've met a number of engineers who want to get their PhD, some of them Filipino, some of them from other countries, and they all seem to have the same challenge in terms of actually applying. And it's just the challenge is it difficult? Am I going to make it? How many exams do I have to take, and so on. And my advice usually for most of them is just work on it for 2 to 3 weeks and just file the application. I've had friends who've been thinking of applying for the past 2 to 3 years, and every time we talk, it's I will apply. One of these days I will apply. I want to become a PhD, but every time there's a reason for not applying. So my advice is just go ahead and just file it.
All right. So you know that there is always a process. It's not an overnight situation. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication, and also, if you are somebody who really would like to pursue your profession here, then I think you will have all those desire and all those motivation for you to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. But if there's one thing that you would like to change in the way the system works, based on your experience, considering that there are so many foreign trained professionals out there coming to Canada, and some of them are not actually able to work in the profession that they have been trained in terms of their experience, in terms of their profession or career, what would you change, or what suggestion would you like to suggest?
Again, it's to remove the fear that if I go through this process, it's going to be difficult. I won't be able to get this and so on. There's also this thing about getting the Canadian work experience. That part could be a challenge if you don't have the network. But I still keep on saying, just go through the process. Sooner or later, you should be able to.
Yeah, so if you really want it, then you will do everything to make it happen for you. And I do believe that we have such a very, very, encouraging and welcoming community where you can get a lot of support, not only from our Filipino community, but also just being part of the greater Canadian community. There are so many resources out there that could help you achieve your goal to become a professional engineer, or in the profession that you were trained back in your home country. Now, June, really great insights that you have shared with us tonight. And I know that there are so many out there who can learn from your experience. And as a Filipino-Canadian community, we are one of the most vibrant community here in Canada. In fact, across Canada, we have 750,000 Filipinos. And here in Calgary alone, we have more than 50,000 Filipinos. So my question for you, as a Filipino engineer working for this great country, what significant contribution you think that engineers contribute in building this country?
There are a lot of Filipino engineers, and if they come over, regardless if they get their PhD or not, I think in terms of the ability to work hard, our education is not bad. It may be a challenge to get the actual PhD, but to do work that's technical or to do work that's related to engineering, I think we do bring both the work ethic and the training that's better than most. I think there's a reason why in general Asians are better, have better statistics in terms of especially Filipinos in terms of getting work, and I think it's because we want to work. We get to do whatever's available, and so we're not afraid of doing the work, and we're not afraid of getting work that's what some people might feel is below what their credentials are, but no, everything works out. Just work hard, just go for it. And
yeah, you have raised a very important point. In fact, I've said this many times that, you know, as immigrants, not just the Filipino immigrants, but in general, immigrants has this ability to reinvent themselves when necessary. You know, immigrants can do anything, right? Even if they're not trained to do a particular work, they will show their, enthusiasm and just be willing to learn and do new things, even if those are things that they have not done before. So anyway, the Filipino community has evolved into a very dynamic community over the last couple of years, and we have seen how our community has become an active part of building this great nation. In fact, last year in June, it was declared that the month of June is the Filipino Heritage Month, as declared by the province of Alberta. In fact, it's now a celebration all over Canada that in June, it's a month-long celebration of the Filipino heritage. It's because of the reason that, as a community, our contribution in building this great nation is something that, this country would like to recognize. So my question for you, as we celebrate in celebration of the Filipino Heritage Month, what are the traits and values of Filipinos in terms of just in general that you can be proud of?
I think we do very well in terms of integrating with society. It's been always said that, of course, we do speak English rather well, relatively. But the ability to integrate is something that we do very well as a race.
Yeah. Integration is pretty much one of what makes this country really beautiful in terms of being a multicultural and diverse society, because you don't have to assimilate, you just have to integrate, and you have this opportunity to live your life the way you want to live, and being part of a multicultural society that makes us really a very strong country. So June, for your last message, thank you first of all that you have acceded to our invitation tonight to be part of this discussion. For your last message to our Filipino-Canadian community, take this opportunity now.
Okay. I've met a number of Filipino engineers who do want to go after their PhD. My advice is, if you truly want it, just work at filing the application and just go ahead and file it. Stop procrastinating, just do it, and things will work out.
Thank you so much, June, for your time tonight. Thanks for watching, and I hope you will continue to watch our next episode. There will be additional episodes tonight, so stay tuned, and thanks for joining us. Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, thank you.